Morning, South Africa. I don't know if you missed me, but coming back from my little trip, I'm not so sure I missed South Africa. Even though I didn't leave South Africa, I felt like I'd left South Africa because I was away from all the madness for a couple of days. And let me tell you something. When you've been away at the level I was away, in other words, out in the mountains, under the ocean, coming back to this is quite terrifying. So while I've been away, there's been a couple of things that have happened. That report came back from the American fact-finding mission. Kenny Kunene got found in a gangster's house. He subsequently is resigned as a MP or as the deputy of the PA. Emma Powell has resigned from the DA. Paul O'Sullivan is in a war with Ethel Trollip. Mabru, can't I leave you guys alone for 5 minutes? Can't I go away for 5 minutes without you guys breaking the place down? My goodness me, you might see my fancy little hoodie. Yeah, this comes from old Walter at African Water Sports, Ocean Protectors. Yeah, go support those guys if you're ever down in Natal, you want to learn how to dive or you want to go see some sharks, that's the place to be. But let's get on to the topic at hand. I'm not going to get too deep into the politics because, as I mentioned, fact-finding mission has responded with a very bad report on X. Don't care. Kenny Kunene has been caught in a house of a gangster. We don't care. This and that, we don't care. We're apathetic to all of it. And I can tell you that I don't see any investigations going very far, to be honest with you, in any of it. There's so many people involved, and it's so deep, and it's so disgusting, and it's so rotten, that there's so many people that have got so much to lose that the chances of this actually ever going anywhere are really very, very small. Because I don't think there's one person in any form of the government at any level that's not implicated in some kind of corruption and in some kind of dirty tricks. Which, brings me to my next sort of something that I really want to discuss. I read a post the other day about some, I don't know, snowflake, I guess, would be the best thing, to speak to what we do here. And the snowflake, is a crystal methamphetamine / whatever addict, right? And they get sent to a rehab. And in rehab, they encounter things they've never encountered. They encounter accountability. They encounter responsibility. They encounter self-discipline. In other words, getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, making your bed, cleaning your floor. They encounter handing in your washing to be washed and having to go and collect it after it's washed and pack it in your own cupboard. They encounter having to shave. They encounter the committee when they don't comply with the rules of the center, and they encounter tiny little consequences like, 2-3 nights washing dishes or whatever it might be, miss a phone call or whatever, like ridiculous stuff, like really, really, and then I must read on a post, this individual was in rehab, by the way, 9 years ago. And at the same time, this individual has dropped out of university that his parents had to pay for. This individual is in his 30s, has never had a job, stays in his parents' house, takes drugs all day and night, was recently arrested for theft, was then bailed out by his family, blah, 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 the whole story. And then I must read that when he was in rehab 9 years ago, that's the reason why he's still struggling now, because he suffers from post-traumatic stress disorder from being in rehab. Now I want to put this out there, right? Okay. Now I don't want to be a when-we, but I'm gonna go this route, right? At the age of 17 in 1987, I was recruited into the South African Police College in Pretoria. I turned 18 in the police college. A week after turning 18, we were sent to a training base called Verdrag I think it's in Limpopo, where we were then started to being instructed in crowd control and riot training, right? Hardcore course, 3 weeks. We were about 10 days into that course when we were then summarily recalled to the SA Police College, where we arrived, and we were then deployed to serious riot situations that were exploding all over the East and West Rand, where infrastructure was being targeted, trains were being burnt, people were being killed and necklaced and all of that, and we were deployed there to bring order to these situations. I just turned 18. I write in my book that, at one point we were about 150 or whatever policemen facing a crowd of over 50,000 people. And, fear of death, and death was imminent. So, then from there back to Verdrag, and finished my training there, and then back to the SA Police College, where I finished my training there. And then I was deployed to and stationed at SAP Hillbrow. And I picked up quite a lot of trouble at SAP Hillbrow because I was an undisciplined and had very poor self-discipline. And I was then moved to Norwood Police Station as a disciplinary action under Major Brandt. And Major Brandt didn't really have time for my stories. He then just deployed me off back to training, to counterinsurgency training at Milieuscorp, where I did a 6-week training course, and then I was summarily brought back and then sent where I spent almost 9 months constantly on the borders of South Africa defending my country. I then came back and I was put into a unit back at Hillbrow, first back to uniform, then back into a unit called Crime Reaction Unit, which worked hand in hand with Robbery Reaction Unit, and our job was a response to armed and violent crime in progress in Johannesburg, South Africa in 1990. Do the maths, all right? Okay? And, in terms of post-traumatic stress disorder. And now, I went through all of that. I did 7 years in the police. I was involved in drugs. I lived on the streets. I was involved in crime. This snowflake now wants to come and tell me he suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder after a couple of weeks or months or whatever it was in a recovery center. I can't deal, people. I cannot deal with this type of mindset. I cannot deal with this type of, I don't know what to call it, woke, ideological, flippant, poor me bullshit. When I've been through the things that I've been through in my life, and I've seen the things that I've seen in my life, I've witnessed people being burnt alive. I've seen thousands of car accidents where men, women, and children have been killed in the most horrific way. I've witnessed murders. I've witnessed suicides. I've witnessed crime scenes of serial killers. I've been in numerous situations where firearms played a role. At great risk to myself. I've been shot at more times than I care to count. I've been stabbed twice. I've been beaten up outside nightclubs. Listen, bro, the list goes on and on and on, and I don't take any medications, and I trust in God, and I live my life in now disciplined and functional manner. And now I must read about a snowflake who can't deal because he spent a couple of weeks in rehab after he made the choices that put him in rehab. It's unbelievable to me. Anyway, that's my story for today. And I don't know, tell me what you think in the comments below. Yeah, in terms of the political landscape, I can tell you now, things are not going to get better in a hurry for us as South Africans. And, I'm at a point, where I don't really know what I'm going to do or what I want to do about this entire situation. I spend my life day in and day out fighting addiction in addicts. And, as part of that addiction, a large portion of the fight is trying to convince the families of their role in the entire thing in terms of codependence and enabling behavior. Then I've got to deal with the government who come in here regularly to make sure that we're not doing stupid stuff, which a lot of the places are doing. But I've got to say that, they do come and they do look. And, I've got to deal with all these things. Then I've got to deal with the fact that I, fortunately was born a white person in South Africa. And that makes me some kind of, satanic entity in the eyes of many people. And, I've got to deal with the fact that, I could be killed in my home at any time. I could be hijacked at any time. I could be kidnapped at any time. My wife could be violated and harmed at any time. I've got to deal with that. As we all do as South Africans, nothing new to any of us. And then I've still got to deal with these political idiots, that are doing their absolute best to make all of the preceding statements harder for me. So, I've got to really sit back and think, well, after I went and spent a couple of days doing the things that I love, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to do that, and I look at how other people are living their lives, versus how I'm living my life. And I'm thinking to myself, well, these guys, they got their problems and they got their issues with their own businesses and that. But you know what, Why be under constant attack for trying to do the right thing, You know what I mean? I see people are, very quick to attack the rehabs, but I want to know, all these people that are attacking the rehabs, why aren't you standing outside the drug dealers' houses? Why aren't you confronting the drug dealers the way that you confront the rehabs? Why are you fighting with the people that are trying to save your kids instead of going and fighting with the people that are trying to kill your kids? I don't get it. You know what I mean? I don't get it. A person came here because we're in the middle of a township, just outside the Deer, right? And a person came here yesterday, a white person, to look at the place on Saturday, and left and said, no, this place looks too rough. Not the center, the area. The area looks too rough. I'll put that in a racial term. No, ma'am, what you're trying to say is the area looks too black for your lily white son. But she doesn't understand where her child is using drugs. Where's your child using drugs? The area where we are is 1 billion times better than the places where the drug dealers are selling drugs and the people are using drugs. People are deluded in this flipping country. This is the problem. And I think all over the world, people are deluded. People have lost their minds. The Bible is right. The end is near when good becomes evil and evil becomes good. The end is near, I'm telling you now. Because the whole lot of you are flipping crazy. Bro. You're all crazy. Bro. You don't know up from down. You don't know right from wrong. You don't know left from right. And people like me that are rational and can see, that have seen things in life, that have lived life, the worst of life and the best of life, can see. People are cooked. Time for the Lord Jesus to return. And I'm praying every day for his return. Because it just simply cannot go on like this. Amen. Lekker. God bless. Cheers.